safari guide out here at the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. Now friends, we are on a nighttime safari, so I do have to mention that for the safety of the animals and the comfort of those around you, we ask that you refrain from the use of flash photography. Also, we ask that you do not use flashlights of any kind. Now this is still a photo safari though, so have those cameras out and ready, just without the flash if you please. Just like with this vet ready here. I also ask that everybody remain seated at all times, even if you are sitting on a lap, and even if I am stopped, as I can only stop for a few seconds at a time anyways, friends. And do keep all hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the truck as well. Looks like we're just about ready here, guys. Our first stop is the Little Ituri Forest. The animals that live out here have some natural colorings and markings on them. It helps them to camouflage themselves within these forest trees, so keep a careful lookout. Actually, right away, over to our right, there's an okapi up there in the corner. The okapi are very elusive animals. They were not discovered by the Western world until 1901. Well, up until that point, Europeans thought the okapi were a mythical creature. They referred to them as the African unicorn. They thought they were not real because they look like a hodgepodge of a bunch of different animals into one. So really, that just goes to show you never know what's still out there, yet to be discovered. We got a great view of their beautiful zebra print on their legs, which is very misleading. The okapi are not related to the zebra. Anybody know what animal they are related to? The giraffe. Yep, that's correct. We can tell they're related because they have the exact same skull structure as them, as well as those long, prehensile tongues are actually long enough to reach around and clean both their ears and eyeballs. Though I would probably do eyeballs first and then ears, yeah? Like I said, a lot of these animals that live in the forest do heavily rely on their natural camouflage as their greatest defense mechanism. But during the nighttime, when there are added dangers for these animals, they can't really rely on their camouflage a whole lot. So many of them sleep in shifts throughout the night to stay more alert and better protect themselves. Now many of them also don't really have super great eyesight because so many of them are so good at playing hide and seek in here. So the way they look out for any dangers is through their hearing. They have excellent hearing. A lot of them have sort of cupped ears to heighten that hearing sense. Now we are going to find there's a couple of different animals.
Oh, look at the animals over here, you guys. Look at those.
The ones with the more rust-colored coats are called bongo. To the right of them, those light gray animals are a few greater kudu. And there are 3 kudu out there. They are all females. The males have horns on their head that reach about 6 feet in length. For those bongo, both males and females have horns on their head. Hey guys, it looks like we made it out of the Little Ituri Forest. Doing a really good thing too. I got lost in there last week. But now we're headed towards the Safi River. Like any other watering hole, this is an important place for animals to gather. They come here to drink water or just to cool off.
Oh, look at the hippo sleeping over there.
There is a hippopotamus laying out on the bank. Straight ahead there. It's very rare to find hippos out of the water like this. They spend about 16 hours a day in the water, where they can hold their breath for about 8 minutes at a time. That's even when they're sleeping, they remain unconscious to get a breath of air. Their heads will just automatically float up, take a quick breath, then come right back down.
He's just sleeping.
There's another hippo in the water to your left.
Look, there's another one in the water, son. You see it?
Now, they may look fluffy and adorable, but they are one of the most dangerous animals here in Africa. If you've ever seen them open their mouths, you know why. They have huge jaws and really big teeth as well. They normally eat a vegetarian diet, but I still would not approach one in the wild for you guys. I heard they can eat an entire Jack Black in one bite. Now, on the side of the tree left, there is a pod of pink-backed pelicans as well. Here's another
Look at another one.
Now keep your ears open, friends, because hippos use all sorts of fun noises to communicate with each other, like grunts, snorts, honks, wheezes, and something called a wheeze honk. Yeah, every hippo has their own unique wheeze honk. Sometimes it's honk wheeze, you never know. But that's how they tell each other apart, a lot like how we have our own unique voices. Even though they do spend a lot of time in water, hippos don't technically swim, they more so glide across the river floor. They're pretty heavy, they weigh about 5,500 pounds when they're fully grown. Wow. Looks like we are about to cross over Croc Bridge. The reason I call it that, well, like to your left at the Nile crocodiles.
Look at the crocodiles over there.
Look at that. Look at that guy.
And just checking to make sure we are fully seated for you guys.
Crocodile.
I know, he's just sitting there.
That's the last dinosaur left. So
Yeah.
And we have a couple of different names for a group of
Some of them are in the water.
Based on
Look
where
at
they are
them.
whenever you find them. Since most of them are gathered on land right now, we call them a basque of crocodiles. Once again, guys, make sure you are fully seated. That is for your safety. We're going over a rickety bridge right now, so please sit down for me. If you are not seated, you need to be seated immediately. My friend up there with the sunglasses on their head, please sit down. Friends over there, please keep each other accountable. Make sure you're fully seated. Thank you, guys. That is for your safety. So as I was saying, the group of crocodiles gathered on land is a basque, which makes sense since they're basking in the sun. If they were mostly in the water, we would call them a float of crocodiles, which would also make sense to be floating in the water. The most common question I get about crocodiles is how to tell them apart from alligators. Well, friends, I'll tell you. One you see later and one you see in a while. Now guys, the actual difference is going to be their snout shape. For crocodiles, they have a much more slender, sort of V-shaped snout, with, you can see both their top and bottom teeth when their mouths are closed. For alligators, you can only see those top teeth when their mouths are closed, and they have a much wider snout, which makes more of a U shape. But either way, I would avoid them entirely out in the wild. Looks like we're now headed towards the savannah, home to some of Africa's more famous animals, such as lions and elephants and giraffes.
Definitely.
I'm excited.
And right away, friends, we're going to find a herd of wildebeest down there. Just behind them, I do see a couple of Ankole cattle. They have those huge white horns on their head. We will catch up to all those animals in just a little bit here.
Oh yeah, they're all out.
Now, friends, second only to humans, wildebeest are the most densely populated mammals on Earth. That just means like to have a whole bunch of them really closely packed together, just like us. Just take a look at, oh, I don't know, Walt Disney World. That's a great example. But they do travel in pretty large herds, numbers up to about 1,000 in just one group of them. They do travel across the savannah in the tens of thousands, so every year about 1.5 million wildebeest in total migrate across the savannah over about 500 to 1,000 miles or so. That's search and food and water, of course, and that's even the very young ones. They can run about 15 minutes after they're born. Otherwise, they do get left behind. Now the word wildebeest comes from the Afrikaans language. It translates to, you guessed it, wild beast. But they are also referred to as the gnu. That's spelled G-N-U. It's based on the low grunting noise that they make.
Moo! So right now we're gonna see all these animals.
Oh, up to your left, you can see there's a spotted hyena out there.
Ooh, look at the hyena out
Looks
there.
like there is another one just behind the den. You can just make out the top of their back there.
Oh, they just ate a monkey.
Guys, hyenas are actually female dominated. Even the lowest ranking female is going to rank higher than the highest ranking male. And despite popular belief, they are not scavengers, at least not the spotted hyenas. They do hunt for their own food for the most part.
It's a monkey.
Now, although
That's
they
not
sort
a
of resemble
monkey.
dogs and cats,
Where do
they're not
you
a part
see
of
a
either one of
monkey?
those
It's a hyena.
scientific families. They have their own called the Hyenidae family.
He's not eating
But of
a
the two,
monkey.
they are more closely related to cats.
Hey, you.
As we come up here, all around us, you will start to notice what look like some really huge ant hills. Does anybody know what these actually are, though?
Termites.
Yes, these are all termite mounds, including this really tall one on our left. Now, these termite mounds are as hard as concrete, but all they're made of is dirt, dung, and termite spit. That's charming, right? Well, elephants like to use them as scratching posts. They can grow to be about 30 feet tall. But once the elephants knock them over, because yeah, of course they do, they act like bulldozers out here. Well, then antelope can stand on top of those fallen termite mounds to look out for any predators. So
Look,
it
they're
all goes
feeding
back
them
into
now.
the great circle of life out here. We're gonna come up
For
to
the
these
animals to
Ankole
come
cattle on our left.
Look,
They are
some over
also
here,
called
sir.
Watusi. They're named after the people who first domesticated them, the African tribe, Watusi. They do have the largest horns of any cattle. They're about 3 to 4 feet on either
they're
side.
feeding them,
But
so they
what
keep
do you
them
guys think?
away.
Are those horns really heavy or kind of light? Yeah, they're not a lot wider than you think because they're mostly hollow inside. There's a sort of honeycomb structure in them and to hold up the blood vessels. So it sounds a little gross, but they pump blood in and out of their horns to cool off. which is actually pretty cool when you think about it. It's like a built-in AC system on top of your head. How nice would that be, right?
Yeah, they're so still.
And these cattle are still used as a form of wealth here in Africa. So the more cattle you have, the more wealth you are, the higher status you have. But since there's not a bank where you can store cattle, instead farmers keep them fenced in overnight with fences made of thorny bushes called manyadas. They let them graze the grass during the day, but at nighttime they will fence them in to protect them from predators. Now straight ahead of us, up on top of the hill there, I can make out there's a couple of Patterson's eland there. They have a solid tan colored coat. The eland is the largest antelope in the world. They grow to be about 6 feet tall at the shoulder and weigh a ton. That is literally a ton, about 2,000 pounds. But despite their heavy weight, they can leap about 8 feet straight up without a running start. There's a couple more Patterson's eland that are down here a little bit closer to us, still to your right. The one that's on your right by that tree stump is a baby. He was born in, I believe, in September, so just a few months old.
Where?
He's eating by the trunk. Tree trunk over there.
Oh, and straight ahead of us, I think we're going to find there's a giraffe out there.
Where?
It's currently got its head buried in the bushes there.
Oh yeah, I see him. I see him. Green. Don't worry, we'll see him. Hold on. We'll see him. We'll see him.
Is he on the left?
He's on your side.
This giraffe is going to come up on your left-hand side. Let's make this turn here. Oh, there's a few of them out here.
Hi, giraffe! Oh, more!
Yeah.
There is at least one baby out here right now that I can see. But I've seen several baby giraffes out here lately, guys. That is a really good sign. It means they are comfortable enough to have their families out here on the reserve. Now, I can't tell from this far away if that's him or if he's even out here at all, but one of them was born this last January. He's about to turn 1. He's so old. The locals have been calling him Jabari, which means brave one in Swahili. He's been very brave since day one. He was born right here on the reserve. In fact, while safari trucks were driving through, we were not expecting it. It was pretty exciting for all of us out here. And they can run about an hour after they're born, so he just took charge like he owned the place. It's pretty cute. They can run pretty fast, by the way, about 35 miles an hour, which is so much faster than we can go these trucks. We can only go a whopping 8 miles an hour on these things, so I have lost many a race to Jabari out here. Now, giraffes are the tallest land animals in the world, reaching heights of about 20 feet when they're fully grown. And they spend most of their day eating. Giraffes have 4 stomachs to fill, so they're eating for about 20 hours a day. That sounds like a pretty great life, am I right? Or, you know, me. Well, I bet you're wondering, if they spend so much time eating, well, hey, when is their time to sleep? Isn't that important too? I'm so glad you asked. No, not really. They only sleep maybe 5 to 30 minutes a day. Now to your left, there is an elephant way out there.
See the elephant, sir?
Elephants are
It's
my
right there.
favorite animal. Anybody else out there? Favorite animal is an elephant?
Me.
They are so cool. It looks like he may be out there all by himself, but don't worry about him, friends, because he's by himself. We can pretty safely assume he's a male elephant. The males tend to be more solitary in their adult lives, but females will stay together when they grow up. They have what's called a matriarchal society, meaning they have usually one mom who's in charge of everybody. So what she says goes. Once the boys grow up, she kicks them out of the herd. But they do have the second longest childhood of any animal. It can be about 16 years. Based on that, any guesses as to what animal has the number 1 longest childhood?
Birds. Ducks.
I'll give you guys a hint. It's not anywhere on your animal spotting guide, but it is on this truck. Yeah, it's us. About 18 years for humans, sometimes much longer. You never know. Now on this island to your left, there are some greater flamingo here. Anybody know what a group of flamingos is called? This one's pretty fun.
Flamingo.
Flock of flamingos.
A flock is technically correct because they are a group of birds. They're called a flock. But specifically flamingos, they have a much more fun name. They're called a flamboyance. And it rolls off the tongue, yeah? Flamboyance of flamingos. Now when they're born, flamingos are not pink. They're more gray or white. They only turn pink after the first year or 2 into their lives. You all know where they get their pink coloring from. Yeah, it's from what they eat. It is the beta-carotene and brine shrimp that they eat that turns them pink. They'll also sometimes eat red algae, and that'll turn them pink too.
Listen, I'm smart.
Like I said, though, they only turn pink after a couple of years into their lives, and it is going to be their legs that turn pink before their feathers do. It looks a little funny.
Yeah. Yeah, you saw the flamingos? Oh, up there, yeah. All the animals are up there.
That monkey. Oh, there's
Oh no, to your left, I can see a cheetah walking around out there.
Cheetah.
Oh, look at it all the way back there.
The cheetah is the fastest land animal in the world. You can go from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds flat. And the fastest one clocked in at 72 miles an hour.
72 miles an hour, Bray.
There's another one up ahead of us. Still to your left, this one's walking around.
Look at that one.
Look, another one right here.
And they have very sleek bodies. They are built
Don't
for
do
speed,
that, Ethan.
but not so much endurance. They can only run the length of about 2 or 3 football fields, so a couple hundred yards until they have to stop and catch their breath again. And it does take them about 20 minutes to catch their breath as well. Coming up ahead of us, that was one of the most exciting sights to see here at the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. It's this really huge rock. Alright, that did not get the reaction I was hoping for. Come on, you guys. This place rocks. Thank you. Okay, it's also got a name. This is the Kopi Rock Formation. That's Kopje rocks. Now, sometimes predators like to lay out on these rocks. They'll lay out in the hot savanna sun, get a nice suntan. And since they're so high up, they have a great view to look down in the savanna for any prey they might be able to find.
Oh, like Simba.
We're safe, I promise. Oh, hey, predators like lions. There's a lion up there now.
Oh, look at the lion, you guys.
And
It's
he's
up
taking
there.
a little catnap at the moment.
It's up on the rock, Seren.
Now, to your
Seren, it's right
different
there.
antelope species. The ones with the more brown colored coats and the solid white over their tails are the Bontabak. The ones with the dark gray coats and the ring around their tails are a couple of waterbuck. We will see them again in just a minute here. Let's keep going though, because I
Look
see
at the
there
girl,
is a
the
lioness
lioness.
or two up here to find as well.
There's a female lion. Wait, what's a female
Lions. Lions are going to remain inactive like this for about 20 hours a day. That doesn't necessarily mean they're sleeping the whole time, but they certainly do an awful lot of lying around. Thank you for the pity laughs / groans. That is my one really good joke I'm allowed to say out here. Not really, but I say it anyways. Now, hey, do you guys know what the word for lion is in Swahili?
Simba.
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah, it's Simba. Yep, Simba means lion, and Mufasa is another Swahili word. Can you guess what that one means?
I guessed it.
You guys remember who Mufasa is in the movie, right?
Yeah.
He's Simba's father, yes, but he was Mufasa to everybody in the movie.
The king of the jungle.
He's the king. So Mufasa means king. You guys are honorable. Okay, last one. How about scar? What does scar mean?
Evil.
Guys, it's English. It means scar. I did read somewhere though that he had a name before he was named Scar, and I can't remember what the word was, but it was Swahili for garbage. So I understand why he was so upset. Like his brother was named King, he was named Garbage. What's up with that?
Wow.
And there's those Bontabak and Waterbuck again to your right. There's also some ostrich eggs to your right.
Oh, the
They're pretty
ostrich
big. The
egg.
ostrich produces the largest eggs in the world. They can weigh about 3 pounds each, and they are so sturdy that one of us could go out there and stand on top of one of them, and it would not so much as crack.
That's your
Well, now it looks like we're headed towards the Magadi Glen. This whole area coming up is the newest addition to the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. And much like many other reserves here in Africa, that is thanks to generous donations from different conservation initiatives.
Oh, this makes me
A great
nervous.
example of one of those would be the Disney Conservation Fund. They do a lot of research on wild animals, their wild homes, and how we can help better protect both of them. Yep. Well, one thing they found out in their research is that elephants are afraid of a really tiny animal. Anybody know what animal that might be?
Mouse.
We heard mouse and mosquitoes. All great guesses, you guys. Mouse is a common answer that I get, but it is also a common misconception. They are not afraid of mice. They are afraid of bees, though. Yeah, bees. I know it sounds silly, but I can relate to that. I'll stay very far away from those things. Now, with this information, the Disney Conservation Fund partnered up with some Kenyan farmers who tended to respond pretty negatively towards elephants whenever they would come in and eat their crops. So they set up beehive fences all around their land. It was very clever, helped keep the elephants away and protected from the humans, as well as preserve the crops for the farmers, who also made a profit off the honey they sold from those beehive fences. So guys, this is a great example of what conservation is and should be, which is to help benefit not only animals, but humans as well. Now, as we travel through these waterfalls, you guys, looks like we made it back to the Harambe village. Oh, but unfortunately, that also means our adventurous safari is nearing its end. I know that went by so quickly, but I sure hope you enjoyed yourselves out there. Did everybody have a great safari? Yeah! That's Awesome. I'm so glad to hear it. You guys were great out there. My best today, I must say. Well, Sante Sana, thank you guys for joining us here at Kilimanjaro Safaris. Friends, once again, my name is Ashton. I have been your safari guide.
Wait, hold
And
on.
if you're looking for something else to do this evening, there is one more showing of the Festival of the Lion King tonight. It starts at 6 p.m.